Yes, it has. So welcome, guys. Lovely to see you all. Welcome to our webinar today, Overcoming Self-Sabotage. I'm going to jump straight in, and we might even have an opportunity to do a few coaching questions together. So if anyone is feeling brave, you can volunteer. I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and we just see what comes up when we ask these questions to overcome self-sabotage. So here we go. We have the music as always. If you're joining us for the first time, you can find a ton of recorded webinars. I'm talking 30 plus webinars right here on our YouTube channel. I'll send you an email link for that a bit later, or you can just check on the email that you receive from me. There'll be a link at the bottom of that. Here is what we're going to cover for today. What exactly is self-sabotage? Identifying the patterns that lead to failure. And I say failure because, according to some of the principles of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, there is no failure, there's only feedback, right? So in other words, if we do not achieve a goal, then guess what? We've just got feedback from our environment, the universe, however you want to call it, that gives us feedback on it. It's just simply letting us know that that strategy or that mindset that was employed did not help us to achieve our target. So there really is no failure because we do the best that we can with the resources that we have. And if you do want to achieve more success more quickly, if we can identify those patterns, and what we're looking for here is not these one-off occurrences, because that's going to happen in life, right? We try and we fail, and that's okay. What we're really talking about here are those patterns of that failure, because if you can identify the pattern, then you can prevent it from happening. When and how do these patterns form? Discover the most powerful coaching questions to destroy self-sabotage. So these coaching questions that we're going to cover today, they're very, very powerful for coaching yourself. And of course, you can use them with your clients as well. And when I say client, it could be your friends that you're helping, the family that you're working with, actual paid clients if you are a coach, or even members of your team if they're not achieving their KPI or the goals that they want to achieve. And then we're going to wrap it up with setting yourself and your clients up for success. So in other words, how to overcome this once you've identified those patterns, and much, much more. So some of the content we're sharing today, I have been actually sharing with some organizations. So rest assured what we're learning here today is truly world-class. A lot of these techniques and principles I am sharing from the world of NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming, which is a very, very popular program throughout Asia. These are just some of the companies that are studying NLP with us. So, as always, I like to get clear on some little definitions here, guys. So let's take a look at some definitions. What is self-sabotage? Just so we're all on the same page here. So self-sabotage refers to behaviors and or thought patterns that hold you back and prevent you from achieving what you want to achieve. So, of course, the key word here, of course, guys, is the behaviors and the thought patterns, right? Now, as always, I like to have our webinars to be a little bit interactive, guys. So if you have any questions at any time, please pop your questions into the chat box. But tell me here, which do you think is the bigger cause of self-sabotage? Is it your behavior or is it your thoughts? Which one of those is going to hold you back and prevent you the most from achieving your level of success that you want to achieve? Go ahead and pop some answers into the chat box. Ooh, nice. Thoughts. Yeah, I tend to agree, and let me show you why. First, we have our thought patterns. Everything starts with thought. In between our two ears, we have our brain, and we're having up to 60,000 thoughts per day. And the thoughts that we have determine the quality of our behavior and then therefore our results. So yes, while our behavior, you know, not taking that action or not doing this or not doing that or doing that in the wrong way, that's a behavior. While the behavior itself is, you know, going to lead to not achieving the result, it's the thoughts that come before the behavior that are actually going to determine what behavior we do or we don't do. So we have our thought patterns, then there's something going on here in the middle, and then we have our behavior. And so it's a combination of these that lead to us not achieving our goals, to not achieving the results that we want to achieve. So what is it that's in the middle here, guys? What do you think is here in the middle? We've got our thought patterns lead to something, then lead to our behavior. What do you think that this might be here, guys? Have a crack in the chat box, please. Doubt. Nice one, Veronica. Nice guess. Any more guesses? Limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs. Nice, Pung. Nice, Michelle. Yeah. Yeah. It is a limiting belief. So gold star for Michelle and gold star for Pung. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. What we can also call it, guys, is the program, right? And because we are going to look at limiting belief first, but let's just understand a little bit about how we're programmed, because we're all running what is very, very similar to a computer program, right? And this program that we're running is generally, it's either empowering, so it helps us to achieve our goals, or it is disempowering, or what we call limiting beliefs. And it's those limiting beliefs that we have that is creating this self-sabotage. You know, I don't know if it's happened to you, but, you know, you're working towards a goal and like you're so close, the finish line is just there, and then something just happens and then we don't achieve the goal, right? I don't know if it's happened to you, but it's happened to me multiple times before I learned NLP. And it's this part of the program. Now, the good news is, yet mental barriers, same kind of thing. So let's take a look at this programming section here, guys, so we understand what am I talking about, how about our programs. So let's have a look about how our programs are created. Firstly, we have between 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day. That's a lot of thoughts going on. From those thoughts, 90 to 95% of those thoughts are the same as the day before, right? That's a lot. That's a lot of repetition. So that's what we call a thought pattern. It's a pattern of thoughts. It is a habit of thoughts. It's a program. It's a repetition. Whatever word you want to call it, repetition, program, or habit, it all means the same thing. So up to 95% of our thoughts are the same as the day before. Now, shockingly, for the majority of people out there, 70% of those thoughts are negative, right? They're negative thoughts. They're limiting, you know, limiting thoughts about, oh, I can't do this, I can't achieve that, or I won't be able to get success. And it goes on and on and on. And this repeats day after day after day. It just continues on and on and on. Then those negative thoughts, well, a repetition of those same thoughts over and over again creates what we call our belief system or our programs, right? And our belief systems is simply what we believe to be true. It's like the program that we've been installed with, all right? Now, for another gold star, who can tell me, when are our programs created and formed? When do you think our programs are created and formed? This program up here, when does that program get installed? Any ideas? Pop your answers into the chat box, please.
Childhood.
In childhood, since childhood. Yeah, very good. Exactly, right? So between the ages of when we're born to about 7 years old, we are what we call imprinted with the belief systems and the programs of the people in our immediate environment. So, you know, whether you grew up with your parents or your grandparents or a foster home or a caregiver or any people that were in your immediate family environment, that is where you absorbed most of your programming from those ages, from when you were born to 7 years old. Because at that age, we don't really know, you know, right or wrong, good or bad, empowering or disempowering, positive beliefs or limiting beliefs. We don't know any of that as a kid. And so as a result, we simply just absorb, right? Because when we are a child, we haven't developed the conscious thinking capabilities. So in other words, the doors to the subconscious mind are wide open. All right. And you can think of your subconscious mind as the area where these programs are stored, and they're running in the background all of the time. Right. Then from the ages of about 8 years old through to about 15 years old, right, as we're kind of adolescents, we go through a process called modeling. So we're beginning to look at our environment, and we're beginning to think, you know, things like, well, you know, Uncle Fred is pretty cool. Uncle Fred, like, yeah, you know, it's nice hanging out with Uncle Fred, and you know, he's really cool. But you know, Uncle Billy, not a real fan of Uncle Billy. He's a bit strange or whatever. So we begin to develop a little bit of conscious awareness about the kind of people that we want to hang out with, but still, that we are still very strongly influenced by the people around us, right? The people around us and the events that happen in our life. So of course, as we get older, you know, our world literally expands. We begin to go to school. We have certain teachers. We have certain friends. We begin, you know, relationships, but we have our first boyfriend or girlfriend at, I don't know, age 13 or whenever that happens. So we get more and more influenced by the environment around us. And this is where most of our programming comes from, in those early years of our childhood. Right? So now let's explain on belief systems a little bit more. Pung has a great question here. If so, why brothers and sisters of the same parents might think differently and behave differently? What a great question. It reminds me, Pung, and I saw this meme that I didn't have, I wasn't able to find it to put it into today's webinar. Let me see if I can explain it. There's a bench, and there are two gentlemen sitting on the bench in the park, for example. One of the gentlemen is dressed in a suit, right? They're all looking very, very sharp in the suit. And the other gentleman looks like a homeless man. And when they were asked, how did your life end up like this, where clearly one was successful and one was not successful, they both responded, my father was a drunk. Right? So the influence of the father drinking heavily influenced one of the brothers to continue on that same path, whereas the other brother said, no, I don't want to be like that. I want to be my own man, right? So, you know, what is it that determines, you know, the success or the failure of another one? I think, in addition, like if you assume that they have the same genes, you know, they grew up in the same environment, there were still slight differences on how they lived their life. And that might have been a wonderful teacher that they went to school with. It might have been the boss that they had when they started working part-time. It could be other significant emotional events that happened in their childhood that caused a little branch in the road. Yeah, where one of them decided to take these actions, you know, maybe drinking, you know, they started drinking early with their friends because that was the cool thing to do. And then when they started drinking with their friends because that was the cool thing to do, before they know it, 10 years have passed, and, you know, now they're living their life not achieving their level of success. Whereas perhaps the other brother had a a beautiful encounter with a mentor or a boss or a teacher at school or a professor at the university, someone who inspired them. Because do you know when inspiration can happen? It can happen in a split second. It can happen with that chance encounter. It can happen with a book that you read, a YouTube video that you watch, a TED Talk, a workshop, or a webinar. Those breakthrough moments can literally happen in an instant. So what would be the main difference is, my assumption would be that the brother who is more successful put themselves in an environment where they were surrounded by more successful people, and they modeled those kinds of behaviors. Because remember, we all have free choice. We all have free will. So perhaps the successful brother was more studious. They studied more, they read more, they learned more. Maybe they looked about the problems associated with alcoholism and so on, and they just decided, no, I don't want that happening in my life. All right. So that can be some of the reasons why there. So I hope that helps, right? Just because, we have the exact same parents, we can still have totally different lives from the choices that we make, right? You are always in charge of your choices. So to explain a little bit more about belief systems, which is part of our program, belief systems are a generally unconscious set of habits and programs of what we believe to be true about the world around us, right? Especially as a kid. Did you know, I don't know how it is in your country, but did you know in Australia where I grew up, as a child, I believed that a big man, let's call him fat, a big fat man in a red suit would come down the chimney that's about this wide, and he would put Christmas presents underneath my tree. And did you know I believed that until a certain age? I don't know what age I was, maybe 6 or 7 years old, where I started to say to mum and dad, we don't have a chimney. I'm not sure this Santa guy is real. I can't remember the exact conversation. Our belief systems can evolve, right? Obviously, tooth fairies, Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, and so on. So, but as a kid, we believed that to be true until we discovered counter evidence to show us that no, that belief is not true. So a repetition of negative thoughts create what we call limiting beliefs, those belief systems that hold us back. And a repetition of positive thoughts create what we call empowering beliefs. And these are the belief systems that are going to drive us forward. This is part of the program that drives you forward. When you think of your empowering beliefs, think of your brand new iPhone 15, whatever iPhone number they're up to. When you get a new phone, I'm a Samsung kind of guy. This phone's about a week old, and I got my new phone, and it's like super quick. It does everything in half the time of the other one. It's got double the memory capacity, and it's like, whoa, right? Now that's the new phone. It's got an empowered program. Yet, the old Samsung that I had, which is about 7 years old, it was slow, it was clunky, it would hang, it would just reset itself. And it's like it had a limiting belief, right? And just like any old software that we have that kind of stops working. So just like when you have an old program or an old operating system, the same thing is true in here. When we have limiting beliefs, it's like running on outdated software and programming. Now, let's have a look at a few examples here, just so it makes even more sense. Limiting beliefs, remember, limiting beliefs are unconscious. So most of the time, guys, we're not even aware of our limiting beliefs. So some people say to themselves, oh, I'm too young. I'm too young to get promoted. I'm too young to start my business. I'm too young to do this. I'm too young to lead that project. I'm too young. I'm too young. I'm too young. So they think it and then they say it, and that repetition of the thought, with enough repetition, boom, it becomes a limiting belief, which is operating in the unconscious program. It's like part of your default operating system. So when you wake up in the morning, boom, these limiting beliefs are kicking in, right? Now, that person that says, I'm too young, I'm too young, I'm too young, one day they wake up and now they say, oh, I'm too old. I'm too old to lead this team. I'm too old to lead that project. I'm too old to start a new business. I'm too old to get into a relationship, blah, blah, blah. It holds them back. I'm not intelligent. I'm not smart enough. Now, the thing with our belief systems, guys, is our belief system become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So in other words, what we believe to be true, we create in our life. And Henry Ford says it beautifully, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. So if you think you can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, that's what we call a limiting belief. Whereas if you think you can do it, I am smart enough, I will achieve success, that's what we call an empowering belief. Now, the tricky thing with these limiting beliefs is that they're mostly unconscious. We are not aware of them. They're running in the background, determining the behavior and the results in our life. So I'm not intelligent. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. Money is evil, or rich people are evil, or rich people can't be trusted. Not true, guys. It's simply not true. The world is dangerous. It's dangerous out there. People can't be trusted. Don't trust anyone. Don't talk to strangers, right? Now think about this. Yes, our parents, of course, they want the best for us and they want us to be safe. And they say, don't talk to strangers, don't talk to strangers. And then people wonder why they're all shy and they can't talk to people at a networking event or a party where they don't know anyone, because they've probably been taught with repetition to don't talk to strangers. Now, here was my limiting belief growing up. I'm 2 meters tall, which you may not be able to tell on the webinar. And as 2 meters tall, I was basically like this pencil. I was just legs and then a head. And as a 2 meter tall, 15-year-old kid in Australia, I developed this limiting belief that I'm too tall, I'm too tall, I'm too tall. Now, what I'm saying when I'm saying that I'm too tall, what I'm really saying to myself, that underlying limiting belief there is, it's safe to be average, right? Because if I'm too tall, I didn't want to be too tall. I didn't want to be outstanding. I didn't want to stand out in the crowd. And so, you know what? I just said, it's safe to be average. It's safe to be average. And guys, even as a result of that belief system, that constant thought that I had again and again and again, and I would even say it out loud, oh, I'm too tall, I'm too blah, blah, blah. Well, I literally shrunk down. My posture was really poor. And here's the thing, this limiting belief, this program of it's safe to be average, it affected every single area of my life. My relationships, average. My EQ, average. The job that I had at the time, average. My finances, average. Every single area of my life was like filtered through this one limiting belief, this core limiting belief that I had about myself. Now, I believed it to be true because I didn't know about NLP. I didn't know about belief systems. So you know what? When I first discovered this through some of the techniques that I'm going to share with you today, when I first discovered my limiting belief, I thought, well, that's not true. Like, first of all, I can't actually change my height. This is what I have been born with. This is what my gift from the Creator, from my parents. I can't change it, so I better embrace it. So I changed my belief systems around my height to be, I love being tall. It's awesome to be tall. The air is fresh up here. I can see what's going on out over there. And when I say I love being tall, it means I love being outstanding. I love to stand out. So every single area of my life, when I reprogram this limiting, self-sabotaging belief system, as soon as I change that, everything improved. My relationships, EQ, my work, my finances, every single area of my life transformed once I remove that limiting belief. I'm too busy, not enough time, right? We all live in a busy world right now. And I hear so many people saying, oh, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. Well, guess what? Whatever you continually tell yourself with repetition will become a belief system. So then here you have a very limiting belief around time. It doesn't feel good. It holds you back. You're always feeling stressed and busy. And, oh, I've got so much to do. So you want to change your relationship with time, change your belief systems around time. And one of the easiest ways you can do that, guys, is just to tell yourself, I am productive. I am productive. And you watch a magical world unfold in front of you where you begin to be more creative, where you get better at delegation, where your time management improves, where you get more efficient and productive and so on by simply changing your belief systems around time, right? So as you can see here, guys, the empowering beliefs are pretty much just the opposite, right? Using positive language, of course, to uplift us. So no, I'm not too young or too old. I am the perfect age. Aren't we, Michelle? We're the perfect age, aren't we? Yeah. I'm not intelligent. No, that's not true. I learn easily. I am worthy. I am worthy to receive love. I'm worthy to achieve success. I'm worthy to be appreciated. Money is not evil. Whoever came up with that concept is clearly deluded. The truth is, the more money I have, the more I can help, the more I can contribute, the more that I can share. I am safe. I attract great people into my life. So clearly, these are all examples here, guys, of empowering beliefs, right? If you're able to program yourself to have these empowering beliefs, the quality of the success and the joy and the fulfillment in your life will dramatically improve. All right, continuing on. There we go. Henry says it, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Okay, so I just needed to explain a little bit about the mechanics of these belief systems because they form the integral part of our self-sabotage. So according to my mentor, Dr. Joe Dispenza, 95% of who we are by the time we're about 35 years old is a memorized set of behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious habits, hardwired attitudes, beliefs, and perceptions that function like a computer programmer, right? So what he's saying is that 95% of the day, guys, 95% of the day, we're operating on these unconscious programs, habits, perceptions, and beliefs. And they're unconscious. What does unconscious mean? It simply means we are not aware of it. This means we're only consciously aware 5% of the day. That's a tiny little bit. So what we need to do, well, let's explain here about self-sabotage. Self-sabotage happens because 95% of the day we're operating on our unconscious programs. And if your unconscious programs are filled with those limiting beliefs and that negative self-talk and those negative thoughts, then this is why that self-sabotage happens. This is why we can get so close to our goal or our target and then we miss it because 95% of the day we're operating on those unconscious programs. Now, I love this quote from Carl Jung. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Let me say that again. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So your unconscious mind is directing your life. That 95% of those perceptions, those attitudes, those beliefs, and so on, that is directing your life. That is determining your behavior. And this is the self-sabotage. This is where it was happening. So you need to take the 5% of our conscious mind like a flashlight. And it's like you need to lift the hood, lift the bonnet on the car and take a look under the hood. You know, when you're driving your car and the car suddenly, the engine goes, and there's something broken in the engine. What do? You get out. Well, you probably call someone first. And then you get out and you open the bonnet, you open the hood, and you start looking around in the engine. That oil is spilling out of there, or the steam is gushing out of the radiator. I don't think that should be doing that. So we need to do the same thing with those thought patterns. We need to do the same things with those limiting beliefs. We need to shine a spotlight and make them conscious, because as you become aware of those patterns, well, now you can actually work with them. You can do something to change those programs. Here's another great question. What is the difference between empowering belief and cheating myself that I am fine? Oh, Pung, I love the quality of your question. My goodness. Okay. I will answer that in the last part, where I'm going to share with you some tools on how to begin to install these empowering belief systems. And I love your question. We'll come back to it. Let's start with first, helping to make the unconscious be conscious. So identifying your patterns. Remember, guys, here, you're looking for those patterns of not achieving success, where that self-sabotage is happening, okay? So what you want to do when identifying these patterns and trying to identify these limiting beliefs is look in a specific area of your life first where you're not achieving results, all right? So, you know, if you're working with a client, or if you're trying these processes with yourself, you know, let's imagine I'm talking to a client, right? And I'll say to the client, okay, Mr. Client, so tell me, which area of your life is not working? And they say, oh, Luke, everything. Everything is not working. Well, okay, that might be true, but it's also a massive generalization. They're generalizing. They've kind of bundled all their problems together and they say, all of my life is not working. So to do this process properly, you need to identify one specific area at a time and then focus on that one area. So let's imagine for a moment it's relationships, all right? And it could be relationships or career or finances, whatever it is. Let's take relationships as an example. So I would say to my client, well, okay, thank you. What specific area is really, really not working at the moment? And then they'll say, oh, relationships, all right? Then I would get them to share with me, tell me about your relationships. And then they'll say, yeah, I got married when I was 18, and then I got divorced when I was 21. And then I've been in a series of relationships ever since, and they last no longer than 12 months. I just can't seem to keep a relationship together. And I'd say, great. And how many times does that happen? And they say, oh, at least a dozen times. Is that a pattern, guys? Yes or no? Right? So clearly that's a pattern, right? Or it could be getting fired from their job, or it could be that they choose to leave a job. They resign after, 6 to 12 months, and they've done that 3 or 4 or 5 times. Any more than 3 times, chances are it's a pattern. So if you're going to practice these techniques with yourself or your client, I want you to identify a specific pattern one at a time. You can do relationships first, and then you can come back and do career or finances or something. Just know that you need to work on one at a time, all right? Now, once you've identified the pattern, and remember, what we're looking for here is the pattern of not achieving results, all right? You need to really help shine that spotlight of consciousness on the unconscious. So you need to ask yourself, what patterns of thoughts, in other words, you need to become aware of your thinking about this area called relationships, for example. All right. So let me give you the one quick technique that you can do with your clients to ask them this, right? So if I was, if you don't mind, Michelle, I'll just do this as if I'm doing this with you, just because your camera is turned on right now. What I would say, let's say Michelle is like the example that I've just shared. He wants to work on relationships. Then I would say, okay, Michelle, I want you to take a moment now, and I want you to write down the first 10 words or phrases that come to your mind when you think of the word relationship. Go, right? And then I would let him write down. He would do that by himself. Now, okay, so let's imagine, guys, you're my client, okay? And I'm asking you this question, and we do it for relationships, and I want you to put the answers into the chat box, all right? So the question is, when you think of the word relationship, what are the first 10 words or phrases that come to mind? So just go ahead and just light up the chat box. And I want you to write these words or phrases down without a filter. Don't think about it. If you're thinking, that's conscious. I'm not interested in the conscious. I'm interested in your unconscious thought patterns around this word called relationships. Very good, Francis. Yeah. Hard work, love, trust, joy, companionship, support, love, help each other, joy, traveling together, sharing. Yep, keep them coming, guys. Anything that comes to mind. Good, challenging, helpful, love. Yep, an opportunity to grow, difficult, expensive. Yep, a friend in need. Very good. Okay. Then what you would do, once your client has written down that list, you would then have them to go back and circle the negative words or phrases that they used, right? So, and I've heard this one often, hard work, right? Or can't be trusted, or they never, they're always, short-lived. So whatever negative words pop up out of that list, that gives you a clue to the thought pattern, and then therefore the belief system behind the thought pattern. Remember, behind the thoughts are the belief systems which are unconscious, right? So if we have those negative thoughts about relationships, such as, oh, relationships are hard work, oh, people can't be trusted, oh, it'll never work out, oh, I've failed 10 times in the past with relationships. If you're thinking those thoughts, then it brings us to point 3. What do you say, right? So what are you thinking about relationships, and what are you saying out loud? You know, I've had colleagues say to me before, oh, Luke, I'm never going to find the love of my life. That to me that's actually a nugget of gold. That's a diamond. When they say something like that, like, oh, Luke, I'll never find love, I know immediately that there's a belief system around relationships running in the background. So if you're doing this with yourself, guys, pay attention to your thoughts and pay attention to what you say out loud. Because remember, as Henry Ford says, if you think you can't get in a relationship, then guess what? You're right, because that repetition of thought has created a limiting belief. All right. Now, when we talk about self-sabotage, I want to talk about the 2 biggest limiting beliefs that people have that create this self-sabotage in their life. In fact, would anyone like to have a guess? What do you think? Right, and I've seen this evidence for myself with the coaching clients, and especially from Coach Cristy, my wife. She does a lot of life coaching and relationship coaching, and I've also heard this from Tony Robbins as well. Tony Robbins is one of the world's #1 coaches. But tell me, guys, what do you think? What are the 2 limiting beliefs that create the most self-sabotage in our life? Go ahead and write it into the chat box, please. What do you think? Low self-worth, not good enough, I'm not good enough. Oh, you guys are good. Right? So the first one, yeah, I'm not good enough, right? And so you can put in there, I'm not intelligent enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, etc., etc., etc. And the other one is I am not worthy. I'm not worthy to receive. I'm not worthy of success. I'm not worthy to be loved. I'm not worthy to experience joy. I'm not worthy to have financial freedom, and so on. So can you imagine, guys, for a moment? Imagine having these limiting beliefs, which are unconscious, playing in the background. It's playing 24/7, guys. As soon as you open your eyes, it's like turning on your computer, right? You know when you turn your computer on in the morning and it takes like 1 minute to boot up, right? Because the default operating system is kicking in. Well, guess what? The exact same thing is happening with your limiting belief, with your program. So when you wake up in the morning, all those default, the human operating system is kicking in, it's booting up in the morning. And if you're filled full of limiting belief, well, that is going to direct your day. And you're going to call it fate. You're just going to say to yourself, oh, I'm so unlucky. It's not unlucky, it's a program that's causing that self-sabotage. That's what being unlucky is, a manifestation of those self-sabotaging limiting beliefs. That's the evidence that we see in our environment. Now, the good news is that you are not responsible for your early programming, because remember, that programming happened because of the environment that you grew up in. It's not your fault. And you are 100% responsible for your reprogramming. So follow those 3 steps from before to begin to be more aware of your program, because guess what? Once you are aware of it, it creates a huge internal motivation and inspiration to change it. Right? It's kind of like you got to do your own push-ups. Yeah. I can't do them for you, or your coach can't do them for you. You've got to do your own push-ups. And that starts with awareness to help becoming conscious of the unconscious. So you and you alone are responsible for your reprogramming. All right. Now, here are a couple of questions. Now, who feels a little bit stuck in an area of their life at the moment? Or who feels that they might be, that they might have a limiting belief or a self-sabotage program at play? Does anyone feel a little bit stuck in an area of their life at the moment and they feel brave to share this afternoon? Anyone? Anyone at all? You can unmute yourself if you like, or you can pop it in.
If I may.
Yes, please, Michelle. Thank you.
I am still not 100% sure that I'm worthy of becoming wealthy.
Okay. Thank you for sharing, Michelle. Yeah, I'm not worthy to be wealthy, right? I'm not worthy to receive financial abundance. And did you know it's such a big one, that I am not worthy, right? Then you just fill in the sentence. I'm not worthy of success. I'm not worthy of wealth. And, you know, I'll share with you a quick story. My wife and I went to a Japanese sushi restaurant last night here in Bangkok. Now, I've been in Bangkok for 10 years, and it was 10 years ago that I started my journey as a professional coach. Now, back in those early days, when I arrived to Bangkok, I had about $1,000 worth of savings and not much else, right? And I was on a minimum salary, but I did what I needed to do. I went and learned NLP. But in those really, really early days, I had a business partner at the time, and he would go to this exact same sushi restaurant, and he would go there at lunch. And I remember saying to myself, oh my goodness, that's so extravagant. What a waste of money to be going to this sushi. Oh my God, that's expensive. And he's buying that for lunch. Oh, and you know, and it was last night, 10 years later, and I go to this sushi restaurant now, you know, not super regularly, but at least once a month or so. And it's actually not that expensive compared to some sushi restaurants in the city here. And I was just reflecting back, that version of Luke 10 years ago, who had massive limiting belief, had a program around money, that I am not worthy to be rich. I'm not worthy to be wealthy, right? So it's a common one for many, many people out there. Now, for that particular example, Michelle, we would need to do a deeper intervention, which was starting with that topic that I just started with a moment ago by asking those 3 questions. For this coaching question here, this is a little bit more of what I would call a conscious coaching process, asking these questions here. Going deeper into our belief systems around money, it often means going a little bit deeper and doing some advanced master NLP work and questions. All right. Now, in the area though, let's just try these questions and then just see what comes up for you, right? So when you say, Michelle, that you feel that you might feel a bit stuck about being worthy to be wealthy, if you were to flip that into a goal or an outcome or an empowering belief, what kind of empowering belief would you like to have around money? What would you call that belief system?
Empowering belief would be something like, well, I deserve wealth that will guarantee my well-being to the end of my life.
Yep, nice. And how can you make it a bit shorter and a bit sharper?
I deserve to be wealthy.
I deserve to be wealthy, right? I've heard Tony Robbins say, money flows to me in avalanches of abundance. I am worthy of abundance, right? I love the word abundance because it can relate to money and health and energy and those kinds of things. So whatever your client says, whatever language they choose is true for them, okay? Now, again, keeping in mind that the questions that I'm about to show you would be more of a conscious process. For what you're talking about, Michelle, is actually going to be in the next slide. It would be a slightly different example than yours, Michelle. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back to this very quickly. How do we install empowering beliefs to remove the self-sabotage? I'm going to come back to those other questions, guys, because it's for a slightly different example. So this is how you would install an empowering belief to remove that self-sabotage. All right. Firstly, identify the current limiting beliefs and programs, which Michelle has already identified. Decide which empowering beliefs and programs you wish to install. So how would you say it again, Michelle? Which belief statement do you like?
I deserve to be wealthy.
I deserve to be wealthy. I deserve to be wealthy. Beautiful. I love it. Then you simply practice one or more of the following. So very quickly, guys, who can tell me, based on your learning today so far, how are our programs installed, right? We know that they were installed from childhood, but what are the mechanics around those belief systems? How are they installed or created in the first place? How? Repetition, repetition, repetition. Repetition is how you create an empowering belief system. That same repetition created the limiting belief systems, guys. So the mechanics is the same. You simply need the repetition. You need to think the positive thoughts. You need to say and use that positive language. You need to write it down and journal about it, or you can practice one of the following here. All right, here we go. Make sure, right? One of the first things you need to do, guys, if you want to install any empowering belief, is to put yourself in a positive, empowering environment, right? Surround yourself with positive, empowered people. You know, hang out with people that are going to motivate and inspire you. Hang out with people that like to read books and attend workshops and things like that. Because guess what? If you're continually in a negative or toxic environment, then that becomes your repetition, right? People gossiping. Oh, you'll never achieve that. Oh, you'll never be wealthy. Oh, that's not going to be good enough. Oh, what silly book are you reading now? Oh, you're attending what webinar? Oh my God. That's all negative, and that's going to influence you in a non-positive way, whether you like it or not. So please do yourself a favor, put yourself into a positive environment. Number 2, an incantation, right? So what is an incantation? An incantation, guys, is simply a positive statement, a positive empowering statement that you repeat with emotion out loud. So what was it again, Michelle? I deserve to be wealthy. Yeah. So, Michelle, every morning, for example, he could say to himself, and he might make it a little bit longer to make it really empowering, say, I am worthy of success. I deserve abundance. I deserve to be wealthy. I am love, and da 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 da. However he wants to say it, right, with that repetition, this is what's going to create that new empowering belief. Now, at this point here, I want to loop back to the question that Pung asked a moment ago, which was, how can I install an empowering belief when I don't believe it, right? And let me tell you here, that's exactly what's going to happen. In the early days, guys, let's, for example, imagine you write yourself a nice, powerful incantation. And the best incantations, you need to say it out loud with a little bit of energy and a little bit of intensity. And the neuroscience behind that is because as you do it with the repetition, you're creating new neural pathways in your mind. But guess what? You've got a 95% of your unconscious mind running on those old programs. So you know what the old program is going to say? Yeah, right. Yeah, good one, Luke. Oh, I deserve to be wealthy. Yeah, bullshit. Right? And your unconscious mind is going to say that. And it's going to trick you. In the morning, it says, Luke, you've been doing your incantation for a week now. You deserve a day off today. Just have a day off. You don't need to do your incantation today. So just know, guys, that you won't believe it in the beginning. So that's why you must set yourself up in a positive environment, and you do need to be disciplined, right? You need to have consistency and you need to have discipline, because guess what? When you are born, you do not have limiting beliefs. When you were born, you just came from source, the creator. You just came from love. You are love. You are abundant. You deserve joy. We're born like that. All of these limiting beliefs and this self-sabotage, all of that is learned bullshit, and it's not true. It's simply not true. We learn that stuff, right? And so our job is to unlearn all of that stuff. And the only way that you can do that is with consistency and repetition. And with that consistency and the repetition, you will get your results. And so when I moved to Bangkok, remember, I had all of this limiting belief, and I thought 200 baht, about not even $10. I thought that was expensive to buy a lunch at a sushi restaurant. Well, clearly, no, I needed to change my belief system. And that's how I started, guys. I learned NLP. I practiced a positive incantation, and I did that every day for only 5 minutes per day in the morning. And I did that for about a year. Yeah, I did that for about 1 year. And then I would do it before any training session or any coaching session or whatever. And I was dramatically able to accelerate my results and totally transform my relationship around money and wealth and abundance. And that is my wish for you. The third one, meditation. So when Dr. Joe talks about that 95%, through your meditation practice, it's a really good opportunity to shine a spotlight on those unconscious programs, right? as you begin to be aware of your reactions throughout the day, as you begin to be more aware of your thoughts during the meditation, as you become more consciously aware of the language and the words that you use throughout the day, all of that is going to give you a massive, massive clue into your current programming. And then if you use a guided meditation, it's a gentle form of an incantation, where in the guided meditation, remember, meditation first and foremost is to get you into a relaxed state. In that relaxed state, the doors of the subconscious mind, that 95%, the operating system, the doors are open. And so if you follow that with then a positive guided meditation about love or relationships or abundance and so on, then you're directly influencing the human operating system. And if you do feel that there's some big limiting beliefs going on there, find yourself an NLP coach, someone who is certified in neuro-linguistic programming, preferably at the master level, because they have two specific, very detailed step-by-step processes on how to remove those limiting beliefs, how to transform them into an empowering belief. Now, this is the deeper version. Okay, so I hope that helps, Michelle. So tell me again, what was your new empowering belief?
I deserve to be wealthy.
I deserve to be wealthy. You can notice automatically, guys, you notice how it's even flowing off his tongue now, right? Just a few minutes ago, it was almost difficult for him to say, I deserve to be wealthy, right? If anyone noticed the physiology there, because he doesn't believe it yet. However, I'm quite sure now that we've already shone the spotlight on it, he knows it deep down that he does deserve to be wealthy. He knows it. He knows it. I know it. And he knows it, right? So let me come back to these conscious coaching questions, guys, that you can ask very, very quickly. So if you're feeling stuck, guys, and you've got yourself that pattern of the self-sabotage, and you don't know an NLP coach yet, then you can ask yourself this question, or you can ask your client, right, who's continually getting stuck, and that's certain behavior. So the first question is, what is the one thing that you must do that you don't want to do, which will lead to your success, right? So often when you're working with your client, it's pretty easy to come up with a goal, help them to create their SMART goal. And it's often quite easy to help them to come up with an action plan. And then right towards the end, as you're wrapping up the coaching conversation, you might say to them, Michelle, what's that one action? What's that one thing that you must do that you don't want to do, that you haven't shared with me yet, that if you did do, would help you achieve success? What would that one thing be, right? And then your client will do something like this. And they'll say, damn you, coach. And then they'll say whatever they say, because they know, right? They know what they should be doing. But now here's I think an even more powerful one. This next question, right? So again, they've come up with the action plan. You've acknowledged what they've shared, and then you say, great. Then you say, okay, Mr. Client, Michelle, what do you need to stop doing in order to achieve that goal, right? Which, as coaches, we're always helping our clients. What is it you need to do? Oftentimes, many coaches skip or forget or are unaware of this question. And because guess what? The answer is often very, very simple, but it can have a profound impact on their behavior and then therefore the results. That one thing, the one thing that they need to stop doing might be playing video games. It might be smoking. It might be drinking. It might be eating McDonald's. It might be some other certain behavior. Whatever it is, they know what it is. They know the one thing that if they did stop would dramatically move the needle in terms of helping them to achieve success. So if you're feeling stuck in a certain area, you can ask yourself this question and then see what you come up with. Now, it might not always be easy because they might say, oh, I have to stop doing this thing that I love doing so much, right? And if it's a behavior thing like drinking or smoking or social media, hours and hours on social media, they don't really want to stop it because it's already a habit, right? It's already a habit and a program. So again, asking this question is just taking that flashlight and making it a nice big spotlight. Another question that many coaches forget to ask is who can support you, right? Who can you ask for help? Who can support you on this journey? So this is, and they'll say, you coach, you can help me. And you'll say, yes, I'm here to help you. Who else can help you? And the reason why this question is so powerful, guys, because it will shine a spotlight on their environment. They might suddenly realize, the environment that I'm putting myself in, whether it's friends or family or co-workers, my environment is not supporting me. So there might be a real hidden benefit there that they become aware that their current environment is not supporting them. So in that case, it can be a very, very powerful question. And one of my favorites here. Again, all of these questions are kind of asked towards the end of your coaching conversation, or that you can just ask yourself anytime. What action would you take if you had 100% faith that everything will work out even better than you could imagine? What is that one action that you could take if you had 100% faith that it'll work out just perfect? Yeah, so they're my favorite little extra powerful coaching questions to help people get unstuck and to begin to shine a spotlight on those self-sabotage habits and programs. This is the process that you're going to follow here. You can start doing that immediately. And of course, if you'd like to learn more, then please do come and join us for our NLP training. We've got some great news today. Hotels are open for business in Bangkok. So if you're in Thailand, come and join us for our NLP training. It's 5 days from the 11th to the 15th of November. And we do run it as a hybrid training program. So if you're in Malaysia, Singapore, or Vietnam, you can join us virtually where we'll have the camera in the training room. So I've got a nice big TV set up. I can see everyone in the gallery. You can see everyone in the room. You can ask questions and engage exactly as if you're sitting there with us in the room. Okay, so the special investment is 50,000 baht and we have a payment plan as well. And if you've liked these coaching elements that we've touched on today, then you'd be very interested in the ICF Leadership Coaching Certification as well, where the full investment is 55 and the webinar special is 11,500 over 5 months. Also available in Bangkok and also available as a virtual training as well, where you'll join us for the final 2 days. You'll do 20 hours of pre-study if you're joining us online, and then you'll join the final 2 days hybrid from wherever you are in the world. So wonderful, guys. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Sue. One of my best. Oh, my goodness. Thank you all so much, guys. How can we rework the program if someone is depressed? Last question I'm going to answer. Thank you, Michelle. What I would start with someone who is depressed, I would invite them to write a gratitude journal. Because why people are depressed is they simply have that habit of focusing on the negative. Right? And just remember, guys, when I talk about these programs, it's not a judgment or a criticism on anyone. It's simply a program. And the purpose of running these webinars is to help you to be aware that you can change your program if you're not happy with it. So generally people suffering from depression or who are feeling emotions of being depressed, It's because their focus is more on the negative as opposed to the positive. So by supporting them to write a gratitude journal, which is simply writing down 10 things that they appreciate or that they are grateful for in their life, you're beginning to help them to change the focus back towards the positive, right? And I've seen after just one day, I saw this lady one day. She was clearly depressed. She was in a really bad way, and I gave her these instructions on to do a gratitude journal. I saw her the next day because we were actually running a training. She popped in and visit me at lunchtime, and then she popped in the following day. After one day, this woman was totally different. She was uplifted. She was positive. She saw the world in a totally different way. So that's a great place to start, Michelle. And then, of course, you can use your other coaching tools that you already have. Awesome, everyone. So thank you all for your participation and joining us today. Looking forward to seeing you at one of our future webinars. Until next time, guys, stay safe, stay awesome, and hope to welcome you to one of our workshops or webinars again soon. Bye for now. Take care. Thank you.